Today we're checking out the Syma X500 and we're going to see if this ready-to-fly drone package for around $200 is the best beginner drone. Stay tuned. Hey guys, Felix here with Quadcopterguide, and on this channel I help you get the most out of your drones and other camera gear. Today we're talking beginner drones, and specifically the Syma X500. Now this drone with the remote controller and 2 batteries and a zipper case comes in at around, I just checked, 190 to 249 US dollars. It just depends on what the price is at the current time, but you can of course check that out with the links in the description below. But today we're going to see if this is a good beginner drone. Should you get something like this, or should you spend quite a bit more and go with something like the Mavic Mini? We're going to find out today. So let's check this out in detail. Of course, the drone itself is very similar to other drones you might have seen out there. It has a folding design. The arms fold horizontally like this, and these ones fold to the back, oops, like so. So very compact and very lightweight. You're definitely going to be under the 250 gram limit with this thing. Now if we look at the front of the drone, you can see that the camera is right here and there's no gimbal. So we're going to see how that affects the footage. I expect that that would mean that we don't get super buttery smooth footage, but hey, you know what? As a beginner drone, just get into it. This thing has a lot of features. It features GPS, it features position hold, it features return to home, it features auto land and takeoff. There's a sensor, a camera to the bottom, and there's something pretty cool in the app, which I can't wait to show you guys, but I won't mention that just yet. So be sure to stay tuned for that. There's LEDs on the front, on the bottom. On the bottom, we've got a micro SD slot here, so you can store your footage or pictures on it. And what else is there to say about this thing? So the remote itself looks like this. Focus. You just flip this up here, put your phone in here, and your phone connects to the drone via Wi-Fi. So that's how you get to see a live view of what the drone sees. These little things fold down right here to make it a little more ergonomic, and it feels pretty good in the hand. The antenna for the remote controller is right here, so you always flip that up when you're flying, and that's pretty much it. Very similar to other drones. Now I have to say that Syma is one of those brands that I've been recommending for a long time. The Syma X5C or X5 class, that class is so popular. It is even cheaper than this, and one of the perfect ways to learn how to fly a drone that doesn't just hover there on its own. There's no GPS in those Syma X5Cs, and so you really have to actively fly it a little bit. And so if somebody's looking for a really, really inexpensive drone just to get practice at the sticks and see how it is to control a drone when it's facing you, because then your controls are of course backwards. So anyways, X5C, X5 I've been impressed with for years. So I'm interested to see how this X500 does. Of course, this is a little bit more expensive, but you do get GPS and all kinds of other features. All right, so we've turned on the remote controller first, then the drone, and we're gonna start up the app, Syma Air iOS app. I'm gonna launch that and put the phone into the remote like so. And even with my fat case, which usually doesn't fit any drone kind of holster or smartphone holder, it actually fits pretty good. I might pop off, but that's not a fault of the remote. Just, this case is so ridiculously fat. Nobody designs things for this. Now you can see that initially when you launch this, there's a warning for 2.4 gigahertz or 5G, your phone's local 5G band. Now, I don't have a 5G capable phone, but I assume when those get more popular, then there'll be more phones that this works with. And that'd be kind of interesting because the app promises a lot better range with 5G. So this thing is future-proof. Nice. Okay, so we got the app open here, then we're gonna go to prepare. Now we're gonna calibrate the drone. It's in a horizontal position, and we're gonna hit calibration. Now the sensors are calibrating. At the bottom we see calibration success. So let's go to magnetic calibration. This is kind of like the normal compass calibration that you see. And as you can tell here, we're gonna hit calibration and then do the compass dance. We're gonna go horizontally 2-3 times until the lights go from slow flashing to quick flashing, and then we're gonna do it vertically 2 to 3 times until they go to always on. All right, easy enough, here we go. All right, here we go. We're gonna horizontally rotate the drone. We're still slow flashing, so we're gonna keep going. We're quick flashing, now we're gonna do vertical. And once we get solid, we can stop spinning. And we are solid. It's kind of hard to see, maybe if I put it in the shade, but out here I can see it just fine. It's just maybe far away from the camera, it's a little bit harder. All right, so we're calibrated. Now what I always like to do with any kind of drone is keep the props from being like this when I fire it up, because then when they spin, they have to first dislodge the props and it kind of makes the drone move. So when I put it down, I try to put the props so they're like this. So that's a tip for you guys. All right, so here on the app, we've got a safety warning. Please take care of safety. Keep a distance of more than 3 meters between you and the drone. It's always a good thing to do. And here we have the app. Now there's a bunch of things we see on here. Top left, the Wi-Fi connection to the drone. We've got 14 GPS satellites that we're connected to. The battery level is full. And then we've got some altitude, distance, your movement horizontally and vertically in meters per second, the GPS coordinates, which I'm probably going to blur out, and then a bunch of buttons and things to check out. All right, so with this dial or lever here, we can adjust the gimbal angle, and just you have to be a little bit patient. Sometimes when you make a move, it takes a little bit for the signal from the drone to get back to here. I don't think it's a delay from the remote going there. I think it's the signal, the video signal coming to your phone, because I mean, look, there's a lot of data on here. So I think that's just what it is. But you can control the gimbal here or with the remote. And then when you push it, it beeps like this. And let's see, I think we're ready to go fly. We still have good GPS, good battery. All right, so I didn't take off, so the motor spun down again. So once again, to restart, I'm gonna push the sticks to the inside. The motors spin up. I'm gonna put on my sunglasses because they're kind of like my safety glasses, just in case something goes wrong with the props. Another tip for you guys. And I'm gonna give it a little bit of throttle. And here it goes. Let's get it in the shot. There's the Syma X500. And spin it around. Now it's not very windy. There's a very, very slight breeze sometimes, but it's a relatively calm day. So you can see it hovers really, really nicely. I actually did go out and try to film this video, but by the time I got out to the field, it was so gusty that there's just no chance. I flew my FPV drone, and even with that, I had a hard time. So that was just a bad day to fly this thing. Oh, now there's a little breeze. So let's see how it does. I'm gonna go hands off the sticks. Where is it? There it is at the edge of the frame. Let me move the camera. So this is hands off. So you can see there's definitely a GPS lock, otherwise this thing would not be standing so still. There's a slight breeze. Let's see how breezy it is. Now there's a slight breeze, not super gusty, but there is a breeze. So you can see that the GPS hold is working beautifully. And you can tell it tries to stay level to get that camera to be as solid as possible. And sometimes when you go forward or back or sideways, it loses a tiny bit of altitude. So you just compensate for that by hitting the throttle up just a hair. Now I'm not doing full stick reflections, just a little bit, letting go. And then it takes a little bit to settle. Then if it's a little bit too far out of your comfort zone, just make it go back and let go. Now, as you're starting out with a drone, I always recommend that you should fly the drone at least 2 mistakes high. What that basically means is that if you make a mistake with the drone, you still have one more mistake you have to make before it crashes. I learned that from flying RC airplanes. There they say you should fly 3 mistakes high, but 3 mistakes high on a tiny drone like this, it could get kind of small. And let's see how this thing accelerates. Let's bring it in close. Whoop. Let's make sure it's in the shot here. I'm gonna go down lower. And we're at 100% throttle mode. I'm gonna go full throttle. Here we go. Okay, let's get up and take some pictures, shall we? Let's fly a little bit ahead of us and go up. It is getting a little breezy. And as you can see in the live feed here, let's make sure I'm still recording. I am. So as you can see in the live feed, you can see the missing gimbal, right? I mean, if you had a gimbal on this thing, it'd be more expensive, but it would smooth out that image a little bit more. But let's face it, you're not gonna be shooting indie films with this thing. This is to get you in the air, to get you a drone that has GPS hold, that has return to home in case something goes wrong. If the remote loses power, it'll auto return to home to where you've taken off from. And of course, that's one of the reasons you wanna wait until you have enough satellites acquired before you do take off. I like to see at least 9 to 12 satellites. And when you let go of the sticks, it sometimes takes just a little bit of space and just a few seconds to stabilize. But you can see now it's pretty solid. When it was super gusty and windy, it was kind of doing this toilet bowl thing where the drone just kind of goes, ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay, so let's try again. This optical follow me. I've been having trouble to get this to work, honestly. And I've reached out to Syma, or Syma, however you want to call it. But for some reason, I don't know if it's my drone or if others are having the same issue. Just be sure to check out other reviews. It says it's not optical position mode, cannot start vision following. And I assume that's this top blinking here, but I just can't get it to work. So not sure why that's happening. Now what is kind of cool, so of course this does have that camera to the bottom. When you tap this camera up here, it switches to the bottom camera. How cool is that? And if you tap it again, you get both. You got a picture-in-picture of what the drone sees in the front and the bottom. Now that's a pretty cool implementation. DJI, can you give us something like that? That'd be cool. If we switch to 100% by just tapping on the right stick, it just gives it a little bit more angle of attack. But when you let go of the sticks, it definitely takes a little bit more distance to kind of stabilize, and it's a little bit more wobbly. And if you do a lot of inputs at once, watch this, you can really get it to do this kind of toilet bowl effect. I'm off the sticks right now. Okay, let's bring it back to the left. Let's just say that, I don't know what it's doing right now. Is it trying to get into optical mode? Maybe it's having GPS issues. Let's go back to 50% mode, see if that changes things. So you just have to kind of smooth on the inputs. If you give it a lot of inputs at once, you can kind of get into this attitude where it takes a long time to stabilize and it kind of wigs out if it's windy. And as a beginner, you want to be careful with that. Let's bring this drone in and let's talk about who this is actually for. So the Syma X500. Who is this drone for? Who should get it? Who shouldn't get it? Look, this drone features brushed motors. They're not brushless. And so brushed motors, they just don't give you as much power as brushless motors. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a little bit cheaper and simpler to build. So that's just something to be aware of. Will you get 10 years of use out of this thing? Probably not. Is it a good beginner drone? That's what we want to know though. So if you're going to fly this in wide open areas like this field, not around, I don't know, a lot of homes where there's Wi-Fi spewing everywhere, I assume that that would make the range quite a bit lower. And the range on the video signal with my Wi-Fi iPhone 10 wasn't the greatest. You definitely are not going to do any kind of long exploration flights with this thing, but you know, that's not what this is for. This is for those that are looking to get their first drone and they want features like GPS, auto return to home, and that kind of stuff. And I just tried the GPS follow me since I couldn't get that optical following to work. And I was quite surprised with the GPS. I'm out here, you know, on this field. The GPS follow uses the GPS location of your smartphone. So it doesn't use the camera to kind of follow you. The optical would most likely do that, but I wasn't able to test it. The GPS follows the GPS location of your phone, and I turned it on, and if the clip here, I can play it again here, and you can see in this clip, it actually followed me. I was a little surprised that it did such a good job, actually. And when I went back, it went backwards a little bit. Of course, I wouldn't try this anywhere near buildings. It's just a little too iffy for me, but out in the open, you could give it a try. Will this thing follow you on a bicycle? I don't know. I don't know if I would trust it to do that. Of course you could try it, but it's just a little risky in my opinion. So if you're looking for a beginner drone and you haven't flown before, you want GPS to give you that peace of mind, then add the X500 from Syma or Syma to your list. Be sure to check out other ones, of course, as well. Syma makes a lot of great drones. You know, maybe your first drone doesn't have to have GPS. Check out the Syma X5C as well. That's one of the first kind of toy cheap drones I got just to mess around and also to let my friends fly, because if they break it, you know, it's not that expensive. I'm still a big fan of those. Is this your perfect beginner drone? You know, it's kind of in the middle. It's kind of with the price, it's kind of above the kind of bare bones intro drone that of course doesn't have GPS. But in my opinion, it might not be bad to learn on one of those, because you can't just let go of the sticks and it'll hover there. You have to actively control it the whole time. Now, what happens to a GPS drone, this or any DJI drone, when the GPS goes out, for example? It goes into attitude mode. And then if there's a breeze, guess what? The drone gets carried away. So if you learn on something without GPS, you're already mentally trained on what to do in case that happens. Well, the chances of that happening are pretty low, but hey, I like to be prepared. And also, if you fly indoors and there's no GPS, guess what? You have to know how to fly without GPS. On the other end, if you spend more than this, then of course there's a whole nother class of drone you can get with a stabilized camera. So it just depends on what you want out of this thing. If you're okay with the image quality of this, and by the way, it doesn't do 4K video. It says 4K on the listing on Amazon. I believe they are meaning that to be the photo quality or resolution is 4K, and the actual photo resolution I'm going to put right here. And so you can see that the video, I think, was 720p or 1080p. I'll also put that down below when I review this stuff. So it just depends. There's so many price classes. This one with 2 batteries and remote and everything, if you want to get into a GPS drone cheaply, then add it to your list of drones to research. And yeah, what else is there to say? Hey, if you enjoyed that or you learned something new, then do give this video a like. It really does help out the channel. And of course, for more content like this, don't forget to subscribe. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the Syma X500. What do you think in that price class? Would you recommend something better? Do you like this one? Let me know down below and let's get into a good conversation. In the meantime, check out some of these other videos. This one's pretty good, but you should check out this one. All right, guys, can't wait to see you guys in the comments and in the next video. Take care.